Joe Rogan couldn't believe his ears when he found out Jake Paul had actually offered Francis Ngannou a fight. On his podcast, Rogan called it absolutely insane, saying Jake might be walking straight into a nightmare. He warned that Ngannou isn't just a boxer, he's a monster built to destroy people. Still, Rogan admitted if this fight really happens, it could break the internet.
Nikista calls Francis. This is Francis telling the story. Nikista calls Francis. Says, "Hey, we need your help. We need an opponent for Jake. Tank is out." And Francis says, "All right." And Francis says, "Well, how can I help you?" Nikista says, "Well, we're looking at an opponent for Jake. Tank Davis is out." And Francis says, "All right, but specifically, how can I help you?" Nikista takes a third swing at the bat. He says, "Well, we need an opponent. We need a boxer. We need a partner. We need somebody to fight Jake. Tank is out." And Francis asks him again, "Okay, what specific?"
After Gervonta Davis pulled out due to his legal mess, Jake Paul's team scrambled to find a replacement. That's when the shocking name dropped: Francis Ngannou. The same man who nearly knocked out Tyson Fury. The same man who hits harder than a truck. It's the kind of wild matchup that turns the fight world upside down overnight.
I think the fight is going to be completely canceled and rescheduled, and now we have potential opponent names and some people being ruled out coming into today. This is not a joke. It was said by Mike Coppinger and others that the #1 candidate to replace Tank Davis in a Jake Paul fight, probably on a different date, was going to be Francis Ngannou. What the But we have an update on that and other potential names that Jake could fight. Again, I think on a separate date, and why I think the Jake and Tank fight is completely off. No more, maybe, no more, we don't think it'll happen. I think
Shale Bisping called it madness. He reminded fans that Jake went from wanting to fight a lightweight like Gervonta Davis to challenging a heavyweight powerhouse like Ngannou. Bisping laughed, saying Jake isn't just stepping up in weight, he's jumping into a whole new world of danger. That's not a fight, he said. That's suicide in gloves.
I'm Mike Tyson, who's 58. Anderson Silva, he was way past his prime. People like Nate Diaz, who were way smaller. Gervonta Davis really did take the piss. I mean, that was just the craziest shout ever. To go from fighting Gervonta Davis, way smaller, to now fighting boxing Francis Ngannou. I mean, listen, if he does it, fair play. But I just call #1 bullshit on this brother, because I don't see this happening. No.
This is #1 bullshit.
I just don't believe it. I don't believe it at all. Nate Diaz, yeah, 100%. I mean, he beat him once already. I'm sure Nate Diaz would love to get another big payday, because obviously boxing on Netflix and going up against Jake Paul, given his success, given the name that he has, and given the magnitude of his events, Nate Diaz will get paid an absolute fortune once again. We know that it wasn't too long ago, Jake Paul was talking about boxing Anthony Joshua. And that never came to fruition. There's absolutely no way he would box Anthony Joshua. If he did, if he was to do something like that, whether it be Anthony Joshua or Francis Ngannou, I'd give him his props. I'd give him his credit. And you never know. Maybe he would do it just for the clout. Because in many ways it would be, sorry about the airport notifications, it would be, an admirable thing to do. And it will be Jake Paul taking on somebody bigger.
Francis Ngannou later confirmed the rumors himself. Jake's team really did reach out, but the offer, he said, made no sense. Ngannou said he respects Jake's hustle, but if they're serious, they better come correct. I don't fight for clout, he said. I fight for legacy, and pain comes with it.
Like Jake to replace Gervonta, I'm like, who's Jake? I was so confused, I wasn't expecting that at all. And he said, yeah, Jake Paul, he's fighting. And I'm like, no, bro, come on. Don't disrespect me like that. And then they even say they even come out after and say, and what if the number are good? He sent out some number. I'm like, it's not about the number. If it was about the number, we could have started talk. I would have tell you, I'm not just interested. He make no sense for me. It's not my what I'm.
Daniel Cormier didn't sugarcoat a thing. He warned Jake Paul straight up, if you fight Ngannou, you're getting hurt. Cormier said this isn't influencer boxing anymore, this is real power. The kind that can shut your lights out with one punch. Jake's confidence might be his biggest weakness, Cormier added. You don't play around with Francis Ngannou.
From fighting Gervonta Davis to calling out Francis Ngannou, Jake Paul don't want those problems. I can't say it any different. Jake Paul does not want any Francis Ngannou problems. He don't. He does not want those issues. While I think it's crazy and I credit him for doing that, and I'm surprised he did that, this could be a ploy. Him poking out his chest, saying, I want Francis. He don't want those Francis Ngannou problems. I don't care what Anthony Joshua did to Francis Ngannou. Jake Paul gets in there with Francis. Francis will knock his head off this planet. You don't want those Francis problems. I watched Francis put down Tyson Fury. Sure, Anthony Joshua beat him. But even if Jake got power, I don't think he got power to be dealing with Francis. Because all it takes is for one.
Cormier also questioned Jake's true motives. Is this really about competition? Or just headlines? He said Jake might not understand that Ngannou's punches in MMA were already terrifying. And in boxing gloves, that power becomes even deadlier. One clean shot, Cormier said, and it's over before Jake even knows what hit him.
Right? Boxing is much different than mixed martial arts. The target audience might be the same, but the demographics different. The places where people are brought up are different. There's bigger entourages in boxing. It's just a different world in boxing. We've known that from the very beginning. We know that Gervonta Davis was not going to just play to Jake Paul's rules. I still don't know exactly why this thing is falling apart, but it is falling apart bad. It is bursting at the seams. We are almost exactly where we should have never started. This should have never gotten started, but it did. But we are almost now exactly where we need to be in the fight, and that's it.
A analyst across the combat world called the idea of this fight crazy but genius. It's dangerous, risky, and headline gold. They compared it to Tyson Fury versus Ngannou, a fight everyone doubted, until Francis nearly pulled off the impossible. They say if Jake actually steps up, it might go down as the boldest or dumbest move of his career.
What's interesting about this is, okay, if they push it back to December, then that's slightly different. But this is the kind of one situation where you're kind of 10 days out, 2 weeks out from a fight, whenever they first got wind of this problem. This is the kind of situation where it would be possible that Jake Paul and Nikita Badarian and MVP, who are very, very shrewd people, this is the one occasion where they might end up making a mistake, taking someone at short notice who they shouldn't take. Because there'd be a whole raft of people putting their hand up for it, wouldn't they? Thinking, I'll take him at short notice. I'll make out that I've been sitting on a beach, eating and drinking for the last 6 months. But anything just to get in there with him. And then on the night, I'm gonna knock his head off. There'll be loads of people putting their hand up for this. And you'd have to be incredibly careful about who you took at short notice, because for it to have any kind of meaning, you would need to take a decent opponent at short notice, because obviously they're up against it because it's short notice. You couldn't take some barely warm body at short notice, because that would be even worse than giving them full notice. So this is the one area, the one situation in which it would be easy for them to make a mistake, but they don't make mistakes with things like this. They just don't. So yeah, I'm not surprised that they haven't been tempted into, somebody. Ngannou, that would be a mistake. It'd be such a mistake. I know he got flattened by Joshua, but so what? Joshua is a 2-time unified champion of the world, and Ngannou's 270 pounds of absolute granite. That would have been a terrible, terrible mistake if they'd given him the fight.
And he dropped, people. I know, my opinion, Tyson Fury won that fight with Ngannou, but he still put Tyson Fury.
He was close.